Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the greatest podcast on the internet. I'll say it over and over again until you believe it. This is the State of the Nerd Union. I am Zach Nichols, joined by the faithful duo of the rest of the triumvirate, the other two pieces of the Triforce. Law. Well, I was expecting Trevor to say something.
What?
But moving on. No longer special guest, our back to co-host, Kenneth Ship.
It's an honor. It really is, guys. I appreciate it.
You just got promoted because you showed up on time tonight.
Yay!
Speaking of on time, which we're not because we're about 2 weeks late on this thing, but we are finally getting around to reviewing Daredevil because I finally got to finish it yesterday.
Yeah. I think this is the first TV series we've actually reviewed, right?
This will be the first TV series that we have reviewed. Yes.
We've talked a lot about Star Trek, but I think this is a podcast where it's like the purpose is specifically to review.
But just since we've been talking so much about Marvel lately, we wanted to get away and do something different tonight, so we're going to talk about Marvel. And we are talking about the Marvel TV series that just came out.
Yeah, pound them with Marvel. And when that doesn't work, pound them with Marvel. And then a little bit more Marvel.
And then at the end of the year, finally, we'll get back around to Star Wars.
I mean, the good thing about Marvel is that after Age of Ultron comes out, like really until Civil War next year, all we have is Ant-Man, which none of us care about.
I still have not seen the newest trailer.
It's better, but, I mean, I'm still going to have to wait till the movie comes out to really make a good judge on it.
Running with little ants.
But let's get back to what's most important here, and that's Daredevil.
Yeah.
Not the 2003 Ben Affleck Daredevil, which you remember. We're talking about the new Daredevil, Netflix Daredevil, 13 episodes of pure glory. Kenneth Ship.
12 episodes, 12 or 13.
Okay, fine. We'll get there. Initial reactions. Hit me with it.
Awesome. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, blown away. Just nice, pleasant surprise. Really, it was really great.
I had a lot of mixed emotions going in this. I'm a huge Daredevil fan. Love Brian Michael Bendis' run, Frank Miller's run, Ed Brubaker's run, Mark Waid's run. I love Daredevil, and coming into this, I was so excited. And then I watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I was like, that's Marvel's TV? I'm a little scared again. But then I watched it, and I got super excited again because it was awesome.
Yeah.
But I think it absolutely needs to be said is that Vincent D'Onofrio, a.k.a. the Kingpin, really steals the show.
Yes, he does. He did an excellent job.
Yeah. I've actually been one of the few people who think that I like the character of the Kingpin, but he had such a whiny, bitchy portrayal of the Kingpin. Like he always came off like a little child to me, and I'm not gonna lie, he's good, but I don't understand why everybody's been saying that he's been like the greatest thing in the entire show.
For me personally, he was able to convey a sense of vulnerability while at the same time terror. And he was able to be a human being for really every single scene he was in. I never really thought of this guy as a true monster, but as a person who is doing terrible, awful things. And I think that was a really remarkable feat. And it was really, really engaging and interesting. I was still always rooting against him because he was awful. But
Yeah.
Kenny, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll just echo what he said. I mean, I was impressed that, so I agree with what you're saying about him being a little whiny.
Yeah.
But I was impressed that I could see that him do those terrible things and me still be scared of that guy.
Yeah.
I was still concerned for the character's safety because I'm like, who's going to die out of this group? I'm actually surprised. Are we doing spoilers? Do we care?
Spoiler warning. Go ahead.
Spoiler warning.
Yeah, spoiler warning.
I'm surprised that the main cast was able to make it out of there alive.
Most of them.
The reporter and a few others. But yeah, I did.
Basically, everybody who was associated with the Kingpin's dead.
Which they had said that this was going to be just as much an origin of the Kingpin as it was for Daredevil.
And they lived up to that for sure.
True that.
Yeah, so I mean, to be able to pull that off, because if it had been completely whiny and I didn't have any fear of the guy, yeah, then I would have got annoyed.
Because I'll give him this. All right, as much as I say he's whiny and bitchy, I think it's a lot of the way that he talks, especially in those first couple episodes, especially to Vanessa and to a few other people. It's just the way he comes off like he's unsure of himself. And this is the great kingpin of crime, which I don't know if this is just how he is personally. In the rest of his life, he's unsure of himself. I understand like the whole vulnerability aspect, and he really does seem like that small boy growing up who never really grew up, and he's just putting on this big front in front of everyone else. But I do agree with you that he is incredibly fearful, that he does come across as something that's nigh untouchable, especially in those last couple episodes.
Jesus, yes. Like, it really felt like every time he fought, it was like watching a gorilla beat a human being to death.
Yes.
It was terrifying. Like, he's a big freaking gorilla.
He takes a guy's head off with a car door.
Yes, who just, like it was a freaking cantaloupe.
And that wasn't even a guy who did anything wrong. All he wanted to do was say, "Okay, we sign on. We're with you."
Yeah, like he just made he made him look bad in front of his girlfriend, and so that merits beating him to death with a car door.
And then, I mean, I can understand. Man, I'm still actually shocked that they killed Ben Urich, because he's actually a big deal in the books.
He is a big deal.
He's a long-standing character, and he's even influential in the Spider-Man books.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually shocked that he died. But, I mean, I absolutely love the Kingpin character. I don't think that Vincent's portrayal is as great as everyone else has been saying. I do agree that it's completely three-dimensional, and it's much more three-dimensional than most of Marvel's portrayals. There's a lot of times where I was like, man, that guy's so whiny. I want to punch him.
Okay. All right, so our consensus on Kingpin, at least for this, seems to be everybody thinks it was a great portrayal. Zach just found him annoying.
On occasion, I found him annoying. At other times, I found him fascinating. So it's not even like me complaining. I'm just saying I'd say it's an 8 out of 10 when everybody else is saying 10 out of 10.
Okay.
That's fair.
So before we get into the weaknesses of the show, which there are a few.
Well, let's talk about the leads, the story itself, and then we can talk about our few complaints.
Yeah. So first off, the leads. Mr. Murdoch, Daredevil, was awesome. Really engaging. Very tortured individual. Really loved watching him. I absolutely loved how terrible he was in his relationships. It added a depth of humanity to him.
Yeah.
Which they really kept with the theme of a lot of Daredevil, was that he's the downtrodden hero. And a lot of it's kind of like that very first conversation that you see kid Matt Murdock have with his father about how the Murdochs, they're always beaten down. Like they can always take a hit, but they always stand back up. Mm-hmm. And that's really a theme that emanates through all of the Daredevil books. And then his portrayal of a very tortured soul, like he's always, you can tell he's not exactly happy with what he's doing, but he knows he has to do it. And that tortured Catholic soul still just emanates from him.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. The interactions he had with the priest in particular really spring to mind.
Kenny, any thoughts on the portrayal?
I'll talk about what you were talking about with the priest. I liked his, third conversation when they finally have a real sit down and he knows who he is and they're talking about, has he seen the devil walk amongst the earth? I thought that was like a great example of his struggle with, should he kill Fisk or should he try to find another way?
Yeah.
So those conversations that he had with various characters throughout the show were really impressive and really well done. So yeah, as far as him doing that as Matt Murdock, it was real good.
What about the costume? What does everybody think about the final Daredevil outfit that he wore in the final... Actually, it felt like the final 20 minutes he finally puts it on.
Yeah, finally. because for the entire show, he wasn't even Daredevil. He was the Man in the Mask slash the Devil in Hell's Kitchen.
Yes.
And like for the most part, his costume was exceptionally practical and looked fairly cheap, which was awesome.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of memes about how people have been enjoying the new TV show Broke Ass Batman.
Ooh, I have a Batman comparison we'll talk about in a second. But
everything's a Batman comparison when it comes to Daredevil.
Yeah,
but
it really is.
It made sense to a point, and I'm glad they were eventually pushing towards getting the outfit because, like, what was the nurse's name?
Claire. She's actually
Claire.
the night nurse from the books. She's actually a very important character.
And she keeps pushing. It's like, you really need to get some body armor. And it's almost like he's being very stubborn or stupid to the point where until he meets Mr. Potter, and that finally gets that resolved. But I think it also played to him trying to figure this stuff out too, because like sometimes he's going into places and doesn't have a plan, and ends up getting his ass kicked.
Yeah.
And his overall game plan for the Kingpin doesn't really come together until like the last 3 or 4 episodes. Like he has a general idea of what he needs to do on the legal side to take him down, but as far as how he's going to get it, it really starts to coalesce later on. There's still some points where he kind of bumbles trying to figure out his next move and his next step.
Well, there's a lot of that happens throughout this show that he doesn't have an overarching plan.
Mm-hmm.
This is not some ascension like Batman swearing vengeance into the nights with, that great Shakespearean monologue. No, this is a guy who just got pissed off one night about a girl getting raped, a little girl, and he decided to beat some dude up, and then from that he just kind of kept doing it. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't have this overarching plan, and a lot of times I think there's even a conversation between him and Claire where Claire asks him, what are you going to do? And he doesn't even have an answer.
Nope.
So I think it's kind of along the way he just kind of figures it out.
Yeah.
I mean, the man's literally playing it by ear.
Literally. So, and then what are our thoughts on the final costume? The red with the horns and the...
It was okay. I didn't... A lot of people think it was awesome. I think it was just okay. I wasn't particularly wowed by it. But then again, I've never liked Daredevil's costume.
It looked better than Ben Affleck's all other like tightness that was going on there. So it's an upgrade, but still kind of like,
To me, I'm kind of between like Daredevil. Okay, Ben Affleck's Daredevil costume feels more like the books with the complete red, and the mask looks more like it. It feels more in line with the books. However, the leather aspect looked a little S&M. They're trying to rip off of X-Men, like we're all going to wear black leather now. And then the new show, I like it. I don't think it's great, but the armor aspect, I like the look of the armor. It feels kind of like Batman in The Dark Knight.
Yes, absolutely.
I can see the practicality of it. I can see it. It still emanates superhero, but it doesn't still fully feel like Daredevil.
Okay. But yeah, still solid. It's like, it's just gonna.
Yeah, I found myself really rooting for Foggy the entire show.
Okay, I only have one complaint about Foggy.
Okay.
And while, yes, I understand they were college roommates and he felt like he was lied to, but...
No, there is no, he was lied to.
No, sorry. Was lied to. But, Jesus, the amount of whining that was going on in that one episode when he finally figures it out.
That was the bottle episode where they're just sitting there whining to each other the whole time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's any episode of the entire season that I did not like, it was that one.
Yeah.
So, I understand it had to happen, or they wanted it to happen, which is fine. It's just like, gosh, it feels like we're pumping the brakes here.
They could have slimmed that down into 20 minutes instead of a full episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then maybe if they had done that, maybe I wouldn't have been so mad at Foggy. But
yeah, because literally he had nearly just been beaten to death, and here he is getting berated by his best friend.
Well, that's actually the Daredevil way. Is once you get beaten to death, you get kicked while you're down. That's exactly the Daredevil way, to be honest.
Well, I get that. I get the aspect of it from a storytelling, but it made Foggy very unlikable for that episode. And he was an otherwise exceedingly likable character.
Yeah, I love the Foggy portrayal in this show. He's more interesting in the show than he is in the books. In the books, he really is excessively whiny and off to the side, and there's no real purpose for him. But in this one, I love him much more than I do for Jon Favreau's interpretation.
I forgot he was in that movie.
Yeah, Jon Favreau was Foggy Nelson in the other one.
That's right. I forgot about that too.
Yeah,
I almost
it
want to go
happened.
back and watch it, but no.
All right, so what about the action scenes? Daredevil's ninjutsu style.
Now we're coming to the best part of the show. Because my goodness. Holy cow, guys. In the second or third episode, when he goes to rescue the kid.
It's the ending of the second episode.
Yeah. My goodness, that was an epic fight.
And that was all in one shot.
Yes, it was. It was so epic. It was so good. I couldn't. I watched that thing. I think I've watched that fight 10 times online. Just that fight. Just over
One
and
of the
over.
best choreographed fights I've seen in a long time.
Ooh.
And I don't think I can think, I was trying to recall fight scenes in the Dark Knight trilogy, and I can't think of one that stands out that really makes me, think back to the one in that hallway.
If we're going to compare Batman and Daredevil, that's going to happen over and over again, but we might as well. Definitely Daredevil had the better hand-to-hand combat scenes.
Yeah.
Batman was in the Dark Knight series, he had a very tactile, non-glorious, he's swinging a punch, but he's pulling it right back. There's nothing excessive about it.
Yeah.
In this one, there was a lot of flash and flare, partially maybe because of the distraction, probably just because it looked really awesome, and because Daredevil's a ninja.
Yeah.
But, his fight scene in episode 2, the one you mentioned, also his fight scene against Nobu. Awesome.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Yeah, that was pretty good as well.
Preview of things to come if the hand comes to play.
Oh, no, they're absolutely going to be an antagonist in the next season.
That has to be what Nobu was a precursor for.
No, he was. He absolutely was.
And I have to say, even their fight at the end between Daredevil and Kingpin, still better than a lot of the Marvel Films final battles.
Yeah. It was not the best fight in the show, but I'm trying to think of a better fight.
Or so a better fight from the Marvel Films?
Yeah, from the Marvel Films than that last fight.
The only thing I can think of would be the extremely extensive Battle of New York.
Yeah, but that was just an epic battle.
Yeah, and the only other thing is Hulk versus Abomination.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah.
Definitely this one far better than Whiplash from Iron Man 2.
Oh my god.
Wasted potential.
Yeah. Okay. So.
And better than Captain America being I could land this thing anywhere. I'm just going to put it in the ice.
Okay, moving on. So, we would give the fights in Daredevil a 10 out of 10.
I would say at least a 9. We'll go with 9.
And that's remarkable. That is a remarkable achievement to have the action be consistently that good and enjoyable to watch.
Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, just a treat. Just an absolute treat. Acting, characters, I found most of them likable. There's Secretary Lady.
Karen Page.
Yeah.
Who's also a very important character from the books.
I kept flip-flopping between wishing she was not on screen to enjoying her.
I think she served her purpose.
She served her purpose, but she was not a terror. I did not particularly enjoy watching her.
No, she wasn't my favorite character, but I'm thoroughly looking forward to the end that Kevin Smith wrote for her, and I hope it comes to fruition. Which is, she thinks she gets told that she has AIDS, and then she dies before she finds out it's a lie.
Oh gosh.
That was actually by Mysterio, another Spider-Man villain.
That's really sad.
I know.
Wait, how does Daredevil not just beat the crap out of Mysterio?
He didn't know it was Mysterio the entire time. Read Kevin Smith's, I think it's Guardian Devil. It's the first volume, or the first paperback from the second volume of Daredevil. It's right before Brian Michael Bendis took off. It's an awesome story. I kind of ruined the ending for you, but, whatever.
Thanks, man.
It's wonderful. Anyway, so Karen Page, not her favorite character. Foggy Nelson, we like them all but one episode. So, yeah, that's 12 episodes. That's 12 hours worth.
But that being said, there were two other female characters, and both of them really shined a lot, I thought. Kingpin's girlfriend,
Vanessa, she was very good.
I thoroughly enjoyed her, and I really did get the sense that in the next season, she will be a big problem.
Oh, yeah.
And she will not be someone to screw with.
No.
And I enjoy Rosario Dawson, but I always enjoy her.
I forgot about Claire the Night Nurse. Rosario Dawson was awesome. I love the Night Nurse in this one.
Always a treat. Always love her. She had one of the most terrifying lines when she was getting the crap beat out of her in the parking garage.
What was her line?
It was, "Ask him yourself."
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's pretty good. What was the Asian, the Chinese warlord, or drug lord, gang lord?
Okay.
Gao?
Okay, yeah, Gao. Madame Gao.
Madame Gao, yeah.
I mean, she wasn't exactly the biggest deal to me. It's like she was there and then she was gone. So, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm more interested with Mr. Leland Owsley.
Really?
Really?
Do you know what that name means? Leland Owsley?
No.
Nah.
It's a very famous Daredevil villain, the Owl, who actually, well, this is another spoiler, but just go read Ed Brubaker's run from Daredevil. He makes Daredevil's wife go absolutely insane, and she's locked in an insane asylum from ever on.
Huh. Do you think maybe that then, because his son was mentioned a lot in the show, do you think maybe that's foreshadowing for him to show up as a villain later on?
I would most definitely assume it. If Leland Owsley dies, if he is dead from that fall down an elevator shaft, which I was hoping he wasn't, so he could come back, because the character's usually a little bit older than Daredevil, then if not, hopefully the guy's Daredevil's age and he can take over and be a new villain. Because there are lots of Easter eggs for other Daredevil stories. You've got Leland Owsley as the Owl. You have Nobu, who is a member of the Hand. And obviously, they are going to show back up again.
The Hand will be a terrifying villain, by the way.
And that's what I would like to see as the next season, is they step away from Kingpin for a season and have Vanessa build an empire for herself overseas.
Ooh.
And do a whole season about Hell's Kitchen, Daredevil versus the Hand, and while she's away, she's building a new empire, and then she comes back in the third season for Kingpin.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm kind of hoping for as well is, if they don't want to step away from the Kingpin, but how they're going to use him, is that he'll be the only person Daredevil can turn to for advice on how to deal with the Hand.
Hannibal Lecter style?
Yes.
And then Mr. Potter himself is actually a villain. I can't remember his name, but there are a lot of pieces in his shop that are for other Daredevil villains. There are two very large extending legs, and that's for Stilt Man, which I'm hoping does not show up in Daredevil show. But Potter himself could turn into a Daredevil villain. And then one other one. This is a very, very minor detail. Now, do you remember the scene in which they shot Officer Blake and a few other cops? the sniper on the roof.
Yeah.
Now, if you pay real close attention and you pause that
No.
screen, an ace of spades is in that sniper's bag.
Oh, that's good. Now that could just be an Easter egg nod.
It could
may
be.
not necessarily mean they're building up to him.
It could be. But I'm hoping it's Bullseye.
Oh, Bullseye.
Which that would be another one that I hope they build for season 3. Like take a whole season to do the Hand and the Japanese story, and then come back with Kingpin, and the perfect person to be associate of Kingpin would be Bullseye. And do you remember the scene where there's a college scene of Foggy and Matt working around campus, and they're talking about how Foggy was learning, what was it called? Punjabi. And Matt was learning Spanish because he wanted to talk to that Greek girl that didn't work out.
Oh, that was Elektra.
Elektra.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that.
So
Dang it.
I'm saying season 3 should be the Frank Miller series.
You mean, oh, this is really sad. Why?
That should be the entire show. Is like, this is really sad.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. I had a lot of minor complaints that I get into, but I have one really massive complaint about the show. What was the deal with him killing Nobu and not caring?
This is what I took away from it, because you spoiled that for me before I saw it.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't think it was fully his intention of killing Nobu. He wasn't like, let's set this guy on fire. I think it was a piece of distraction of like, blow up the light above him. I didn't know. It's not one of those things of like, I'm going to blow this up to set him on fire and leave him for dead. It was also one of those times where he got the crap kicked out of him by Kingpin. So even if he wanted to put out the fire, because let's be honest, out of everything that Daredevil did, he never really intentionally went out of his way to kill someone. When he threw the guy off the roof, he checked. He's like, yeah, he's breathing. I figured he would be. He's in a coma. Good enough for me. So if the guy's got third-degree burns all over his body, that's probably still good enough for him. But I think Daredevil, if he didn't have the crap kicked out of him by Kingpin in that moment, probably would have put out the fire.
I mean, it just would have been nice if he had said something about it.
Reacted?
Yeah.
Which I think they would have, but they were so focused on, dude, you're almost dead. And there's so many other things going on at the moment.
Yeah, but I mean, it would have been at least, like, you can't, because, that's part of the critical flaw of his character, or problem with his character, is that he's like, is it all right for me to kill? Should I? Is that okay? Well, he just killed somebody. Yeah, it may not have been his intention, but he killed somebody. At least have some reaction to that on the outside.
Yeah.
Like, his actions directly contributed to the death of another human being. Say something about it. Comment on it.
Which I think they were trying to gloss over just so that they could continue that should I, shouldn't I with Kingpin.
Yeah, which was, I think that was that was a glaring error for their writers.
Yeah. But I guess the thing is maybe if he'd had a conversation with the priest afterwards or something like that, maybe he didn't have to say something right then during that scene. It's like Zach's saying, time-wise, Nabu was on fire, and then Nobu. Sorry.
Nabu is a planet in Star Wars.
I know this, Trevor.
Well, then I shouldn't have had to told you.
The time between him being set on fire and Kingpin entering the room is pretty short. So at least in that scene, it wasn't going to really happen. But yeah, a follow-up conversation with the priest would have solved that.
Yeah.
Some mentioning of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it irritated me.
I agree. It's kind of similar to my feelings on The Dark Knight Returns. Have both of y'all read it?
No.
Okay. So in the third chapter of it, it's the final battle between him and Joker, and he keeps going on. Should I kill him? Should I not kill him? And like in the chapter before it, he just blindly shoots this thug in the face. Like just shoots him like 4 or 5 times. In the animated feature, they fix it. and it's a different thug who shoots the thug, and it's not Batman. But it's the same complaint I have with you, Trevor, of if he kills this one person who means nothing, then why should he not kill the main bad guy?
Yeah.
So, any other final thoughts?
I've exhausted my stuff.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
It's fantastic because my pizza just arrived.
And by the way, that's how we determine when to end our podcast most of the time, ladies and gentlemen. It's when one of us gets our food. Just wanted you to know that.
So overall, Daredevil, I absolutely loved it. I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10.
I'd give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd give it a 9.
Fantastic. Go binge watch it if you haven't yet.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. You won't regret it. And you know what? It actually makes me have some more faith in Marvel for producing TV because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. sucks. And that's all the time we have tonight. Stay tuned for later this week. We've got an episode of Kenny's Conspiracy coming up, the debut episode. And follow us on Facebook. Later.
Bye.